This is The John Tague Show, an actor's odyssey and more. I am your host, John Tague. Give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter. My handle is @JohnJTague. That's @JohnJTague. Drop me a message, give me a follow. I'd love to hear from you. This episode is brought to you by the Rolling Soldier digital web series, a psychological web series about a CIA agent on the run with what is left of his team and family. Available on YouTube and Facebook. Check it out. And Rising Lotus Yoga, with yoga studios available in Sherman Oaks and Newhall, California. Let joy rise. www.risinglotusyoga.com and www.risinglotusyogascv.com. Hey everybody, what's up? It's your old pal John Tague on The John Tague Show, and today I've got a very special guest, director, writer, bon vivant, AJ Wedding is on the show today. What's up, AJ?
How's it going? I don't even know what that means.
I don't either.
Okay.
I think I heard Mark Zachary say it once, and I just kind of picked it up. So
it's good to steal from the best. So
yeah.
Well, before we get started, I think it's important that we share a little toast.
Yes, cheers.
Here we go.
What are you drinking over there?
I got an old-fashioned clink.
You got a little old-fashioned. I'm drinking a little Proper 12.
Ah, well.
Yes. Cheers, mate.
Only the best during the apocalypse.
Absolutely. Might as well go out in style. So what's up, man? How you holding up?
We're good. We're doing fine. We pretty much work from home most of the time unless we're in production. So
yeah. I'm kind of used to the whole, waiting around for work thing. So I kind of feel like I've got to edge up on everybody. It's like being an actor is one of those things where it's just like, oh yeah, I go through very long stretches without any work. So this is nothing new to me.
You've been on some pretty awesome shows of late, such as Light as a Feather.
I just did American Horror Story. I had Lucifer, and that was a little while ago. But yeah, I mean, the recent
I think that's
stuff,
what I was thinking of was Lucifer, because Netflix kind of gave it a resurgence.
That show won't die. I mean, for some reason, not for some reason, but I mean, I think they're going to do another season.
Well, that was such an interesting story too, because you played a role on there, and it seemed like the campaign of fans that kind of got around trying to bring it back once they heard it was canceled embraced you as well as everyone else on the show. It
was weird. It was just one of those weird things where when they said that the show was going to get canceled when it was on, was it Fox? Yeah, Fox. I think they got the axe and Brooklyn Nine-Nine got the axe. And right around the same time, they had a campaign on Twitter called, #SaveLucifer, and they were trying to keep the show going. And when I found out the show was canceled, my episode hadn't aired yet, and because it was being held over for the next season, it was like a standalone episode that they were going to hold over for next season. And when I found out that the show got canceled, right away, I knew. I was like, oh, well, they're not going to air my episode. And I got super pissed off. And I know, right? And I went online and I went on Twitter and I saw that, this was trending. So I just kind of jumped into the conversation and just said, hey, my name's John Tague. I'm an actor on one of the episodes that's not going to be aired. I'm really pissed off. And if you guys need help, I'll help you out with, sharing the hashtag or sharing whatever you guys want. Because I really wanted to see my episode come to life. Because it was a really cool episode. It had Neil Gaiman doing the voiceover throughout the whole thing as the voice of God.
Of course.
And it's just like because he created the show. It was just one of those crazy things where, I woke up the next morning and I checked my Twitter feed and I've got like 4,000 new followers. They ended up showing the episode on Fox because, the fan base went so ballistic and Fox just, I guess, started really kind of caving in. So they showed that episode, but the problem was that episode was right after a big, huge cliffhanger that was supposed to finish that season. and it made no sense because it was kind of like a standalone episode. And that kind of enraged the fan base even more because they still had no closure on things, and it just turned into this firestorm and just kept going and going and going. You know, they got Netflix to pick it up, and then once Netflix picked it up, those fans came to me and said, "Listen, you did this, you helped us out. We want to help you out." So they tried to get me back on the show with this whole hashtag Bring Back John Tague campaign that they ran, and it went for a while, and it was really cool. But I was never asked to come back on the show. But because of those fans, I did get nominated by them for the E! Online TV Scoop Awards, and I got nominated as best guest star. And I was up against Neil Gaiman, and I was up against Lin-Manuel Miranda, and a couple of other people, and I came in third place, which was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I mean, those are the greatest fans in the world, those Lucifer fans. I mean, they've kept that show going. They've been super great to me. I owe them a huge debt of gratitude. I love them. They're great people.
Well, it's definitely an interesting time to live in, where fans really do have a say. You know, if there's enough people, they can really rally around something. And it kind of reminds you of the first series of Star Trek. You know,
totally.
It was such a failed show, but once they saw how many fans there were at the convention that was built, it was right back, you know, bring the show back. So
how many seasons did they do? 3?
I think it was 3, but they were fairly long seasons.
Right.
So it feels like a lot more than 3.
Yeah. I like Star Trek a lot. We've been we've been kind of cracking out here since the whole COVID-19 thing, and we started watching Picard because I guess CBS gave this free month package with, you know, to kind of to relieve some of the stress of the whole coronavirus, and Picard is so good. Yeah, it's so good. We're like 4 episodes in, and I'm just like, this is so amazing.
Yeah, several of our previous guests have been involved in it. I was able to be a very small part of the pre-production. I ended up shooting some cinematic makeup tests, which was really just fun for me. I didn't get anything out of it other than it was just
How did you score that?
Another guest on the show, Neville Page, actually brought me in and asked me to come help him out. And
that's
I was
awesome.
like, absolutely. And in the
Neville
process,
Page he's the creature creator, right?
He's the creature designer for that and for Star Trek Discovery. He also did all the JJ movies. And he's a brilliant creator. And he's also a filmmaker as well. And we've been working on a few things together.
Awesome.
Outside of that, which is great. And Philip Lanyon shot most of those episodes. He was the DP. He was also a guest on the call sheet.
Was he your last guest?
No, my last guest. Well, my last guest was Michael Nankin, who was the director of Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
I don't think he's done any of the recent Star Treks, but
I got to catch up on your podcast, man. I've fallen behind. Now we got all this time.
You got time.
Yeah.
I got to catch up on yours too. I'm excited that you started one, actually.
No, thanks, man. Yeah, it's been cool. My show is basically, me talking to people that are kind of in my situation, other actors that are working but not very well known, that are out there hustling and grinding away, and it's nice to also talk to other filmmakers too, because I think there's not that much difference in the hustle and the grind of it.
Oh, of course.
It's especially now, I'm sure that everybody's kind of like, what are we gonna do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It depends on how long this whole thing, this coronavirus thing goes for. I mean, Hollywood's been shut down for 3 weeks now?
Yeah, I mean,
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Honestly, I think it's a good reminder to everyone who's not in Hollywood how important these productions are. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
You take them for granted until they're the only thing you have
Totally
in front of your face.
Everyone's, binging out now on all these shows that they weren't able to watch before. And we're kind of keeping people entertained, not like to pat ourselves on our back or anything like that. But yeah, it's one of those things where you without all the artists involved in making television and films, there's nothing. And, right now we need entertainment probably more than we've ever needed it before.
Yeah, absolutely. Take me back to when you were
Let's go way
lad.
back.
Let's go back to when you were a wee lad. and tell me, what was the first spark? What first got you interested in the industry as a whole?
Well, growing up, TV was the thing for me. I love television. But sci-fi was something that, really piqued my interest early on, because I think my first like hero kind of thing and my first like TV show that I really loved was The $6 Million Man. And that had great, sci-fi and cool kind of, action and that's what kind of made me fall in love with watching things, but it really wasn't, I think, until when I saw Star Wars. That's when my mind just got blown open about what, the possibilities are and how cool, movies and special effects and things like that are. And plus, it was also one of the first times where I watching those actors in the original films. What I really liked about it was I liked the friendship aspect of it. So I think that was probably like the first spark was really Star Wars. But I didn't want to be an actor at all. I was a musician. I was in a rock and roll band in high school, and we played all up and down the East Coast and in clubs in New York City and did all this, all this stuff. And when it came time to go to college, all the other guys in the band, they were kind of like, oh, I got to go to college, so I guess we're going to take a break from the band for a little bit. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I better apply to some colleges too. I was a terrible student. I was like a D student, so I never did well in school, and I didn't really give a shit. Can we swear on your podcast? I swear on mine. Is that right?
Sure.
Okay. I just don't want to break any rules.
I'll click the little explicit box. It's fine.
I never thought about being an actor at all until I got to college. It was kind of an accident because the department, I was going to go study music engineering and communications, but when I got there, that department was shut down. And I guess my advisor was the head of the theater department and said, well, why don't you come and run sound for one of the plays? And I ran sound for the play. The play was Bus Stop. And I remember there was a girl in it that I liked a lot. And I was like, oh, it's like, this is pretty cool. And they were good. The actors were, the show was amazing. And the actors were really good. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. And then I kind of fell into it backwards like that. That's kind of how it all kind of came together as being an actor for me. But
as far as all that goes, I mean, obviously you worked as an actor, but at some point you decided to kind of take your career in your own hands. Because as an actor, I mean, I know this because I was an actor, and
right. Let's talk about that. Well, let's get it. Let's do a little ping pong here. Let's go. Let's talk about you now for a second. So, when did you decide that you wanted to get into the entertainment world?
Entertainment, probably in like the 8th grade.
Okay. In what capacity?
Not specific. Okay. I was big into doing musicals and singing and dancing and that sort of thing. And the acting kind of came a little later. I think when I was in college, I was really focused on being a good actor. And I thought I'm going to move to LA when I'm done. I'm going to go out and try to be in movies. But prior to that, it was, I just want to perform. I just want to do these things. And in the background, I'm making movies instead of writing papers. So whenever I was given a assignment from like my history teacher or my Spanish teacher, I would always say, can I make a movie instead?
Really?
Which was 3 times as hard.
What were you shooting on?
Just like a
VHS?
Super 8 camera. I think
cool.
I think the first camera my dad had was a beta camera, one of the old betas. And I feel like that got wore out real fast in my hands. But then eventually I got like this, digital 8, or it was before digital actually. And I would do tape to tape syncs to do my editing, because there's no editing
Kind of like
software.
Like Robert Rodriguez did.
Exactly
Like
and
that.
And I had a little audio mixer, and I would mix in music and things like that, and
that's
voiceover.
awesome.
And you just kind of had to do it live because you only got one try.
So, but yeah, you figured it out on your own, right?
Yeah, I just kind of figured it out as I went, but I never thought, oh, I'm going to go direct movies. I'm going to go it was just something I liked to do more than writing a paper. And even when I was in college, I just recently went back to my alma mater, Western Michigan University, to teach a filmmaking class to a bunch of acting students. And I was telling my professor, who now runs the department, that when I was there as a junior, I'd gone up to her and asked, while I was making a movie there, what she thought about me moving to LA and trying to, did she have any advice for an outgoing actor? And she said, have you ever thought about being a producer? And I took that the wrong way. I took that as like, well, you don't think I'm a good enough actor? And really, now that I have perspective on the whole matter, that was like the biggest compliment she could have ever given me, because this woman has written some of the most amazing books. She's produced movies herself. And, it was probably the best thing she could have said. And I told her I was sorry for taking it the way that I did back then.
Yeah.
But, you realize,
but she must have seen something. She must have seen something in you that made her say that. Maybe your organizational skills, or maybe some kind of.
I was making movies. I was
right. You're getting it done.
I was doing it. It wasn't a class project. It was like I would write something because I wanted to be in it.
Yeah.
And that was how I made my first movie, Pop Fiction, which we took to the Toronto Film Festival.
Wow.
In the student category. But even then,
that's huge, man. That's like a huge accomplishment for a student film.
But I still wasn't. I didn't even think about it. It wasn't like, oh man, I didn't get nominated for Best Actor. It's like,
right.
But eventually, in my career as an actor, if you can call it a career, I realized that I didn't have a lot of control. And this is what I was getting to with you. There's not much you can say. Like, if you audition for a role and they say yes, then you take the part and you go do it. You have no control over what the movie is, how good it is.
Yeah,
you only control that character. And I remember the moment when I decided not to be an actor. I was at an audition for a commercial, and I walk into the casting office, and there is a life-size plastic cow. And the casting director says, okay, I need you to shake the cow when we play the music. And whatever you do, don't make it look sexual. And I'm shaking the cow, and they're playing the song, "Shake That Thing, Miss, Can I shake?" Like, and I had an out of body experience, and I saw myself doing it, and I said to myself, if you book this, you have to take it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
And it was just a moment of clarity where I was like, you know what? I don't think this is what I want.
I hear you, man. I hear you. And that's, that's kind of one of those moments where you're just like, it's a soul crushing moment.
Well, for me, I felt like it was a change in perspective, because I needed it to happen. I was still making movies at this point. I'm still making. In fact, I made several things that I wasn't in at all, and it was just let me show you what I can do as a filmmaker.
Right.
And eventually it was like, oh no, that's the part I really like.
Right.
And I guess that's why I was going with you as well, which is eventually you made The Rolling Soldier, which is a really well done web series, by the way.
Thank you.
And you won a bunch of awards this past year, didn't you?
Well, I last year I won Best Actor in a Thriller at the New Jersey Web Fest, which was super cool because I'd been nominated for that award in other festivals, but I had never won that. I just want to backtrack a little bit, going back to what you were saying, auditioning for that commercial. Had you been auditioning for a lot of commercials at that time?
I had, in fact, that was really how I was making my money.
Right.
I did one commercial that ran for 2 years, and I didn't even say anything in the commercial, and I bought a house. So
that's when it was good.
Yeah, that's when it was good.
That's when things were good. I mean, commercials are great because, the money's so good. But I had kind of a really embarrassing commercial moment also where, and it was funny because I had booked commercials through this casting director before in New York. And, but this time he called me and he's like, I want you to come in for this, but don't hate me. And I was like, it's like, what am I getting into? And we get in there and he's like, okay, so, and I see this, there's a brown cardboard box collapsed on the floor. And there's a boom box in the corner. And he's like, can you break dance?
He waits till you come in to ask.
I was like, no. He's like, just do something. Can you just try? When I play the music, can you just kind of try to do something? And because I liked the guy, he was a great casting director. I don't know if he's still doing it or not. I won't name any names, but I really enjoyed the guy a lot. He was great. He asked me, he's like, just do it. So I did it for him. I didn't book it, thank God. But I remember walking out of that audition being like, I don't know how much longer I want to do this kind of thing. Because I didn't feel like I was doing what I wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, commercial acting is great. It's amazing because it subsidizes your career. You book, you bought a house with that.
Well, and some people really love it. I mean, if you're into comedy and you're into,
I'm not a comedy guy. That's the thing. I'm kind of like an everyday kind of guy, or I'm a really stressed out, fighting for his life kind of guy, in the stuff I do. And that kind of comes back around full circle to my web series. I created The Rolling Soldier because I wasn't being seen for the things that I wanted to be seen for. And I wasn't being looked at in that way. People were looking at me like, oh yeah, he's kind of like the best friend type. Which I'm not at all. I'm not that guy. So I created a character, and the character's like a washed up CIA assassin who gets injured in Afghanistan, gets knocked into a coma, wakes up 10 years later, finds out he's on the run with what's left of his team. And I wanted to do something that kind of displayed the skills that I know that I'm good at. That I wasn't being seen for. Sure. And I wanted to work on those shows. I wanted to work on shows like The Blacklist, and I wanted to work on shows like The Americans or Homeland, like that type of thing. So that's pretty much why I created that show. And it's been paying off, luckily for me, since it's been great. I can't complain about it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the actual physical production of it all, because I think people need to, I encourage every actor to go out there and make something. But it's important to also know that it's not all roses and, it's not easy.
It's way harder than you expect, especially when you're doing something that's kind of genre specific, like doing kind of like a spy thriller type of show. Sure. And basically what I did was I looked around me and kind of assessed what I had around me, what actors I had access to, what locations I had access to, what camera person I had access to, and just kind of improvised and kind of took it from there, and then started to develop, the script, and then, we blocked off a weekend to shoot, and we just, we shot with what we had around us, completely guerrilla style. And my DP was she was a DP or a camera operator for the show Intervention. And she was nominated for an Emmy for that show, and she had a really good eye for, and I really liked the kind of paranoid, kind of fly on the wall aspect that she brought to it. And we shot the pilot with her, and then once the pilot was done, she had to go off and do another season of Intervention. So I had to bring in another cinematographer, and he had more of a cinematic style, which actually kind of was more in line with how it really should have been done. And he, that guy busted his ass. His name's Sergio Crago. He's an amazing DP.
Well, I don't know if a lot of people that are outside of LA understand, but there are all these little pools of talent that all, eventually you find your tribe, you find your group of people that you all kind of have a similar, this is how we found each other, right? I mean,
yeah, totally.
You have a very similar way of doing things. You're tired of some of the BS you have to go through. And it's important, I think, for anybody who thinks they want to get involved in this business at all, whether you want to be a makeup artist, an actor, or a producer, or whatever it is, to find that tribe and try other things, do things that pull you out of your comfort zone. I mean, I certainly never thought I'd be doing visual effects or, CG and stuff like that.
That's something what's funny about that with you is that I did not know that at all. I thought you were just a director when I first met you. I didn't know that you had a background. No, I mean, I didn't know that you had a background at all, working in visual effects or anything like that. And I was like, oh wow. When I found out that you were helping out our friend Mark on Space Command, I was like, oh, wow, that blew me away.
Well, that only happened because I had him on the podcast and I happened to show him something that I did. I just kind of, all of my ideas were always science fiction that I wanted to make. And
right.
I remember going to New Deal to get a quote for what it was going to cost to have them do the visual effects for this movie I wanted to make. They said, well, you should probably make a trailer to try to help sell this. And I said, great, can you help me?
Right.
And they said, yeah, we'll give you a computer. You can sit in here and learn all the software and figure it out. Yep. And that's exactly what I did. We shot this thing in a couple of days, and I went in there. They set me up with the computer. Jeff Jasper says, hey, there's a bunch of tutorials right here on this drive, so go ahead and learn how to use Nuke. And let me know if you have any questions. And I sat there going, oh my God, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And, you can learn anything if you focus.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you find a way, Yeah. That's how I was with The Rolling Soldier completely, because when we were done shooting, I was out of money. And I had no money for post-production. The only money I had left, I used that to buy software. And I had to learn how to edit. I had to learn how to do color grading and color correction, and I had a basic background of like sound design and sound editing because of my band days, and we used to record on Ableton Live, so I used that. But once you when your back is against the wall, you got to learn how to use that stuff, and I spent a year. After I was done shooting The Rolling Soldier, I spent another year learning how to use that software and edit and create. I had to create 7 little movies, and then I did the score for everything too. So I did all the music as well. So it was the roughest. I mean, it was a great experience, but it was also one of the hardest things I've ever done. And here's a tip for people: if you're going to do something, keep your cast small. For me, keeping, having a big cast maybe wasn't the smartest thing to do at first. But yeah, it's like, if you're going to do something, you got to get out there and you got to do it. And, you know,
Well, and
if
right
it
there,
means,
you just made it. I mean, you learned a lot of lessons doing it, and I think
totally.
that's the important thing. You know, for
I
me
mean,
as a director, like if I can at least go into a department and work there for a while and understand it, it's not like I'm the greatest visual effects guy or the greatest, you know, art director or whatever, but I understand it enough to be able to talk to them and be able to get what I need for my projects. And that's why I think it's important for anybody in this business to really understand all those things. And I look at you and I don't see an actor. I see a full, like a well-rounded producer.
Thanks, man.
Who can also act. And I think that's important as we move forward in this business, the way that everything is going.
I think the way things are right now, things are changing so fast that I think just being one thing isn't going to be enough.
It's true.
You know, back in like the 90s when I was living in New York and I was, you know, hustling and trying to get work, you know, I remember booking short films for NYU, and, you know, those NYU films, they would shoot on film back then. And those kids would spend like 20 grand on their senior thesis and they wouldn't finish them. You know what I mean? And now you look at the technology that you have around you, and if you're an actor in this industry and you're kind of struggling or trying to, you know, make your way through, if you're not creating your own content, you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
You know, if you really want it, you got to learn how to wear a bunch of different hats now. And it just makes you well-rounded and a better actor, I think, too. For me, like one of the best lessons I got out of all of it was when I was editing, seeing myself and seeing the things I did right and the things I did wrong in the editing bay, you know, performance-wise, was like a pro athlete watching, you know, tape of himself, you know, like pro football players watching, you know, the past week's game and learning from their mistakes, or learning or like, I did that's something I'm good at, that's something I'm not good at. Right. And like as an actor, I found that to be very valuable. Some actors don't like watching themselves, and I get that, but you know, for me it was a pretty valuable experience.
I produced and directed a project called Aileron, and I had some really great actors in it and some very new actors as well. And Abraham Ben Ruby, who is just one of the nicest guys ever, a really great actor. He was on ER, and Parker Lewis Can't Lose, which was my favorite when I was growing up.
I used to love that show, man. That show was great. Corin Nemec, right?
What's that? Oh, yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
that
exactly.
Corin Nemec? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, he was in the cast, and he's amazing. And with one of the younger guys who was in the scenes with him, I watched him teaching the guy how to figure out how to get more screen time.
Really?
And I kind of leaned into it because I was kind of like, well, this is really good. A thing for them to learn. And also for me to learn that, you know, somebody's trying to edge in and get good screen time.
Yeah.
But when they're finding moments, you know, you understand, like television and film is all about finding those moments.
Sure.
And it may not be in the script, but if it's something that is interesting and it fits what's going on, then I want it. I want to see it.
Yeah, totally.
And I just, that was such a great moment for me, a learning moment, I think, for me and for the actor he was coaching. But yeah. You
also had, was Maureen McCormick in that as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Marsha Brady.
Yeah, she was fantastic. My God, such a great person to work with too. I mean, you know, we were on a really tight budget, and we didn't have things like trailers for everybody. And
right.
I swear to God, I turned around every time I turned around, she's sitting right there next to me. Like, do you need me? Do you need me? Like, she was amazing. And she really,
she's just a gamer. She just wanted to,
she brings this youthful energy that's like, it's like she just loves being there. She loves acting. And I love that. I would much rather have that than somebody who's really moody and dark and says, come get me when it's time for my, you know.
Yeah. I don't like that whole hanging out in the trailer thing. You know, I mean, a lot of times when we're on set, you know, we have to, you know, hang out in our trailer, until they come get us. But if there's an opportunity for me not to be in that trailer and to be hanging out on set, I'll take that any day over in those little trailers, it's because sometimes the air conditioner doesn't work in those things, and
well, but also you're networking, you're meeting the people, and
you're not isolated in like a cooler, stressing out waiting for the PA to come get you, or it's I'm hot and cold with trailers. I'm glad we have them, but at the same time, I'd rather not spend the whole time in there. I'd rather be on the set. Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. So when you're working with somebody who's kind of like a pop culture legend like Maureen McCormick, and that was a short film, right?
It was.
Was that? Yeah. What are you doing to I guess the word I'm looking for is maybe to appease them as you're shooting and make them feel well, tell me about your process.
I don't
when you're working with actors,
I don't feel like I do anything out of the ordinary. I think the fact that I was an actor and I studied it in college and understand the processes that maybe weren't my process, but how other people use their process. Just kind of getting a feel for where they're at and what they need.
Yeah.
I never want to feel like, I never want them to feel like they are being spoon-fed something. I always want things to feel alive and real, and I'm organic. And I'm not super specific usually about words, unless the writer is very specific about that.
Right.
I'd rather have it feel right coming out of their mouths.
Right.
Some actors need a push. Some actors just need to know where to stand,
But it's important, like you said earlier, that, because of your acting background, I feel like that gives you a huge advantage in dealing, with actors, because you're understanding what they're going through, and you can put yourself in their shoes and know what they need and what they want. I think that's a very valuable skill for a director to have, and I wish more directors would focus on that stuff instead of the technical stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I think the major thing for me is to hide the technical stuff from them.
Right.
So that's where pre-production comes in and is so important, because the more you and your DP already are on the same page and understand what the plan is, the easier it is to just have a really quiet conversation with the DP and get them going, and then go over to the actors. And, for me, in everything I've done recently, I'm lucky to have worked with the same crew for the most part, and the same DP for like 11 years,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Leonidas Jaramillo is my DP, period.
Yeah.
And he and I have a very similar aesthetic. It's very easy for us on set because we like the very same things. And
you told me
he's sensitive of that as well.
You told me a good story a while back about how you were planning shots with Legos. Tell us about that. This is great.
Well,
I love this.
There's always several steps. As long as you have the time, there's several steps to figuring out how you're going to shoot something. And blocking is very important when time is an issue.
Yep.
And this thing that we did, which was a pilot called The Outlier, we knew we had a really short schedule, and we were trying to get a lot more done than could physically be done in the number of hours we had. So what we thought was, well, let's figure out the best lighting scheme that doesn't require a lot of sticks on the ground, so we can move a lot and move around and have things set up so that it's just really fast and easy, like a TV show would be. And the best way to do that was, we had the design of the set. My DP and I cut it out of foam core to Lego scale.
Awesome.
And he brought over his Legos because he's an action figure guy, and we lit it, and we worked out where all the scenes would take place and where the camera would be, and we actually
did you use like an iPhone or anything to kind of get
we had a little GoPro, and we would live view it to the iPhone so we could see and kind of guess, all right, well, that's a good angle there, and figure out where we're gonna have to do a relight, if any, relights happen. And
how much of that transferred into the actual making of the film?
100%.
100%.
I would say we played jazz a little bit just to get certain angles where it was just like, ooh, this is just right there is a little bit better for her face or for his face. But yeah, I mean, we didn't have time to mess around. And when things go wrong on set, you know what happens. I mean, everybody, what are you going to do?
Falls apart.
Yeah. So that's why the
worst thing is having people stand around looking at you, and you don't know what you don't know what you're doing. And like for me, when I was doing The Rolling Soldier, I mean, I was literally flying by the seat of my pants the whole time. I deferred a lot to my DP. My main goal was getting performances out of the actors and focusing on what I needed to do, and I was just hoping to God that he was catching it. That was, and we did a lot of handheld running around, in natural light.
Well, when you have a good DP, you can do that.
Yeah. Can we talk about Outlier a little bit?
Sure. Let's.
I want to know more about this. I mean, I know a little bit about it, but let's let the audience know what's going on with that. So, tell me what Outlier is.
So, Outlier is something of a superhero show, but the way that this works, it's not like Captain America, who's just superhuman all the time. Basically, each of these superhero-ish characters, they have a power, but to use it costs them something dear. So, you don't see them running around blasting things all the time because they lose a piece of themselves or their entire lives.
It takes a toll.
It takes a huge toll. Yeah. And so that's the basic premise behind it. And now we have what will be a completed pilot once we finish the visual effects. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited to get it out there and show it to people.
Well, the trailer is amazing. I mean, it's legit. It looks like it should be on the CW. You know what I mean? I mean, I think it looks great, and if it's, I don't know if are you showing the trailer to the public, or is it only for people that you're interested in pitching it to?
Yeah, currently we've kept it behind closed doors, just because there's that thing where it's like you really want to show it to people, and you can't just put it out there live, or it's it's a frustrating thing, because there's the idea that, well, if it goes viral, then that's something I can take to the CW and say, look, everybody loves this. But if it doesn't go viral, then it doesn't help you at all.
Viral?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like even Aileron, like I have never put Aileron out online because I feel like it's worth more than just giving it away.
Right. Is that something else? Is that a project also that you are pitching as well at the moment?
I wrote a feature based on the short, and yes, we're pitching that as well. And we'll also, we're talking to a couple of places about potentially hosting the short. But it's like a lot of money goes into these things. Outlier, we did a Kickstarter campaign. We raised $50,000. And of course, our audience has seen everything that we've done thus far.
Right.
But I almost feel obligated to the audience to not put it out there until,
till it's up to snuff.
Yeah. Or, sometimes networks get a little upset if they see that you put something out there that they were interested in buying. Like, well, now it's that version, and now people aren't going to like the version that we make.
True.
And the funny thing I've been running into when showing that trailer is people assume after they see it that everyone who is in it is attached.
Right.
Well, they're like, we're not going to be able to recast these people because they probably have contracts. It's like, no, the whole point of this was to sell a show. It's
right.
The actors get some really good real footage out of it. They're excited about it. They want to see it go as much as anybody.
Right.
So that's been an interesting find for me. I've never had that happen before.
So Outlier has superhero special effecty types of things, and so I imagine that with your background in that, with the VFX stuff, that it came in handy because you weren't farming it out to anybody else.
You know, let's make something that makes use of all of our talents. Like, for instance, Mark Paletti, who is often my first AD, is also a fight coordinator and a stunt coordinator.
Good. Yeah.
And I thought, well, let's figure out what we can do with him and let him shine. And, you know, use everything that you have at your disposal.
I just got to tell you, man, when I saw that, you know, when you showed me the trailer or the clips, I was just blown away. Blown away. It looks amazing. Everybody listening to me right now, AJ is a fantastic director, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future, man. I mean, I think that you're just going to be one of these guys that's just going to just bowl people over. It's just a matter of time.
Well, we will do it together, my friend.
Well, damn right.
Speaking of, what's next for you? What are you doing up?
Well, here's the thing. I had like 3 things lined up, and then coronavirus. I was supposed to shoot this really, really great short film anthology series called Civil Disobedience, and it's still going to happen. It's just been postponed. I guess the thing I've got going right now is the podcast, you know, for the moment, which has been a lot of fun, and kind of an eye opener. I didn't realize how difficult these things were. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like anything. You jump in and you find out what all the problems are.
Well, exactly. You just kind of roll with it. And I found that the more just kind of off the cuff and conversational it is, the easier it is, instead of it being so thought out and planned, you know, because that's the thing, you know, when you're making a movie or you're writing music or something, everything's so like, you know, it's got to be this way, but these things are kind of like freewheeling, which is kind of fun. What about you, man? What do you got going on?
I have several potential things, you know, again, with the COVID-19 thing. I don't know what the timelines are anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing that I can talk about.
Yeah.
But certainly very exciting things. I am working on Space Command right now. I'm now the visual effects supervisor for episode 2 of Space Command.
Awesome.
I was second unit director for the first episode, and just trying to get that together and try to get that out to Mark's audience, Mark Zickery. Other than that, it's a lot of stuff I can't talk about. And like you, doing the podcast. And I really like doing it because I learn so much. And I feel like a lot of people reach out to me and tell me how much they learned. And I really like that.
I think your podcast is great. I mean, I honestly, man, you ask the right questions is what I like about what you do. You know, and the guys that you've had on are like so like, you know, legit and super interesting, and they got great stories, and for like a filmmaker, I think it's gold, being able to kind of, you know, have somebody get into their heads and be able to ask the right questions instead of the same old kind of, you know, so, you know, what'd your dad do? Like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff, you know, all that's cool and everything. But like, I like going deep diving, and you do a really good job of that. So your podcast, I think is a really good, like supplement for filmmakers. I think it should be something that, you know, that more filmmakers should listen to for sure.
Well, thank you. And I need to catch up on your podcast because you just started it pretty much. And
yeah,
I need to see what you're talking about over there.
I think you're my 8th or 9th guest.
Oh, wow.
I think. Yeah.
So you have a few episodes then.
I got a few under my belt. I have to edit another one tonight. And then I got to put it out tomorrow morning. But yeah, you know, it's podcasting's been, it's an interesting thing. And I think more, you know, I think podcasting and online streaming with like Zoom and things like that are going to be our life for a little while.
Yeah, I actually really like this process of doing it over Zoom. And of course, a lot of people are available right now because who's doing anything?
Right, exactly. And the other cool thing is about it, it's not, you know, what's great about Zoom is not that we're like, you know, sponsored by Zoom or anything.
Wish we were.
I know, right? But what's cool about it is it not only is it audio, but it's also video content.
Yeah.
You know, I want to thank AJ Wedding for being on the John Tague Show today. Make sure you check him out. AJ, where can we find you on the interwebs?
AJwedding.com. I do not make weddings. I do not record weddings. It's just my name.
No Twitter, no Insta.
That director AJ at Instagram.
At that director AJ. That's the one. All right. And you guys can follow me at John J. Tague on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to follow me on Facebook, go ahead. I don't know. I'm not really that into Facebook that much. But I'm there. And anything else you want to plug?
Nope, nothing I'm allowed to right now.
Nothing you're allowed to. That sucks.
Next episode.
Next episode. All right. Well, that's it for the John Tague Show. Thanks for listening. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, go ahead and hit subscribe. Also, give me a follow on Instagram at JOHNJTAGUE and on Twitter, same handle at JOHNJTAGUE. See you next time.